What's up guys, Nick True here, and in this video I'm going to be sharing 10 financial goals that you should be focused on hitting before you turn 30. Now this isn't going to be like other financial milestone videos where I give you highly specific advice of having 2x your salary saved or having this much socked away in an emergency fund by the time you're this specific age. Otherwise, you're behind. Because what does that mean? You're behind what? We're all running completely different races with completely different finish lines. So how in the world can you be behind somebody else when you're not even on the same path? I used to worry that I wasn't doing something right when I would hear some advice about certain milestones that I should be hitting by the time that I was 25, because inevitably there was something on that list that I wasn't doing. Finally, though, I realized that what I want my life to look like is very different from the person who wrote that advice. So, of course, we're going to have different financial milestones at different times in our life because our endpoints are completely different. Now, another reason that I don't like giving just long lists of specific numbers that you should be focused on hitting is that it doesn't teach you anything. It's just a list of to-dos. And one of my favorite quotes that I know we've all heard 100 times is, "Give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, and he eats for a lifetime." And on this channel, I'm all about teaching you how to fish. If I just said, do this, then this, then this, then this, and I don't help you understand why you should be doing those things, then you're just executing tasks. You're not actually learning. And I want you to learn and then build habits that feed that learning so that you can take these 10 things and build wealth for a lifetime in a way that's unique to you. So with that being said, let's jump in. Number one is to create a habit of learning about money and become genuinely interested in it. I'm not about accumulating a bunch of money just for the sake of money. Money is simply a tool that we can use to live the adventure that we want to live. So we should all be genuinely interested in learning more about managing our money well, because ultimately we can use it to live the life that we're after. Now, there are two things you can do to build this habit. The first one is to find your favorite medium. Now, some people like to watch things, some people like to listen, and some people like to read. You might be a video person since you're watching this video right now. I'm personally a video and books person, and some people are big podcast fans. I don't really care what your favorite medium is, just pick one, and then the second thing is to get it in front of you as often as possible with the people that you most like. If it's books, then buy 5 personal finance books and put them in places that you're forced to see them, like your nightstand, your backpack, your purse, or even in the bathroom. If it's video or a podcast, then make sure that you're downloading your favorite podcast, but more importantly, find a handful of people that are both informative and entertaining. If you can get drawn in and become genuinely interested in learning how to manage your money well, you're pretty much set. You don't even need the other 9 things on this list, because if you're genuinely interested, you will go through the work of learning what you need to learn and then getting wherever it is that you're trying to go. And while we're on the topic, leave me a comment down below and tell me, what's your favorite medium? Do you like watching videos, reading books, or listening to podcasts? Now, obviously, this may skew bias towards video since we're on video right now, but it would help me out in knowing what type of content I can focus on creating in the future. So leave me a comment, let me know. Books, videos, podcasts, what do you like? All right, the second goal that you should be focused on is creating a vision of what you want your life to look like. Now, this actually goes hand in hand with that genuine interest in learning how to manage your money well that we just talked about, because this is what keeps you motivated to keep learning, to keep driving, to keep going. It's what you want to have accomplished one day. It's what you want your future to look like. It's why you even clicked on this video right here. Like, why are you on YouTube trying to learn how to get better with your money right now? Now, this could be a simple vision where you just want to make sure that you have enough money to put food on the table, pay all of your bills on time, and not be so stressed out about money, and maybe have a little extra cash to do some fun things when you want to on the weekends. Or it could be a really complex or huge vision where you want to own a private jet one day, be able to give millions of dollars away to charity, and own a professional sports team. I don't really care what your vision is or where it falls on that spectrum, but the key is to have some kind of vision of what you want your life to look like in the future, and then to write it down. Managing your money well can be super difficult, and at some point is going to require a major sacrifice or two. And the only way that you're going to be able to have the strength to push through those sacrifices is if you have a super clear vision of what it is that you want your life to look like and why you're making these sacrifices and the path that you need to go down in order to get there. There's this great scene in Alice in Wonderland where Alice gets lost in the forest and she comes across the Cheshire Cat. She asks him which road that he thinks that she ought to take, and he says, well, that depends a good deal on where it is you want to get to. Alice responds by saying, "Oh, it really doesn't matter." And then the Cheshire Cat has this great line where he says, "Well, if you don't know where you're going, then any road will get you there." And that's why it's so important to have a vision of where it is that you want to go, because that's how you know what road you need to choose in order to get there. Okay, number 3 is to find a budgeting method that you're excited to stick to. A budget is not supposed to be restrictive. It is not this thing that chains you up and sucks all the fun out of your life and says, you don't get to spend money this way anymore. No, a budget is actually something that gives you freedom. It takes the handcuffs off of you and gives you control over your money. Now, there are tons of different ways to budget. I actually did a video on the 6 most popular methods. You can check out the link in the description down below to find all those different styles, and then maybe pick the one that works best for your situation. You need to create some kind of budget, because budget is simply just another word for plan. You need to have a plan for your money. If you have that vision already laid out in your head of where you want to go, now you got to make a plan in order to get there. Now, within budgeting, this is where you're going to start setting specific number-based goals around saving and debt repayment and investing. I'm not against numbers-based goals at all. I'm just against me telling you what number-based goals that you should be setting, because ultimately our paths are different. All right, number 4 is to kill your non-mortgage debt, or at least have a plan on how you're going to kill it. Now, obviously, in an ideal world, you'll be completely debt-free with the exception of your mortgage by the time that you're 30. But I recognize that this isn't always realistic for a lot of people. Some people are still in med school or grad school well into their 30s, and others just didn't get into personal finance or even learn about this whole world until much later in life. And if that's you, then that's okay. Don't feel bad. Don't get mad at yourself for your situation. That's not going to be helpful, and it's certainly not going to help you get out of it. The key here is just to recognize your situation, and then now let's put our heads down and make a game plan for how we're going to change it. Carrying consumer debt is a lot like running a marathon with 100-pound ankle weights. Yeah, you might be able to finish the race eventually, but what would be a much better game plan is to stop running, pause, look down at your feet, and take a sledgehammer and get those ankle weights off. Because once you're free, once you've killed that debt, then you can really run and achieve that life vision much, much faster. Number 5 is to establish good credit history. Now, I know we just talked about debt. I am not saying that you should go into debt to try and build a good credit score. That's not what I'm saying at all. But a good credit score will help you get a much lower interest rate down the road when you need to get something like a mortgage. And ultimately, that makes those ankle weights a lot lighter. A good credit score also gives you a lot of flexibility if your wants, desires, or the road that you're planning to take changes over time. A few years ago, I would have told you that I was not interested in purchasing real estate at all. I had had some friends who had had experience with rental property, and they just hadn't had a good experience, and I looked at it from afar and said, I just don't think that's for me. Over time, though, that desire has changed and that strategy has changed. And now Hannah and I are looking to probably invest in real estate at some point in the next year or 2. Luckily, we've been focused on building a good credit score for each of us over the past 5, 6, 7 years. And so by the time that we're ready to make that real estate investment, we're going to have a good track record and good credit scores to back up whatever it is that we're going to be doing. Now, I don't have time to break down every single aspect of the credit score in this video, but I did do a video talking about every single aspect and really breaking down the credit score and show you a lot of tactics that you can use to really increase that score. But let me give you the super short version. The 3 things that impact your credit score the most. Number 1 is making on-time payments. This is simply the most impactful thing. You need to always make on-time payments forever, always, for every bill, for every credit card, for every loan, for everything. Never miss it. If you can simply do that, that makes up 35% of your score alone. So make sure you're always paying those minimums. Ideally, you're paying the full bill every single time. But the main thing here is do not miss a payment. Do not be late. The second main thing you can do to improve your credit score is to keep your utilization ratio really low. So if you have a credit card, this means your credit limit or what's available to you. Let's say that maybe you have a credit card with a credit limit of $5,000. Your utilization ratio is the amount of money that you typically use on a monthly basis over top of that credit limit that you have there. So if you normally carried a balance of $500, for example, and you have a $5,000 denominator or $5,000 available balance, that would give you a 10% credit utilization ratio, which is typically what I try to keep mine under. So aim for 10%, keep that low. That will have the second largest impact on your score. The third thing that you can do is to simply start as early as possible. One of the big factors in your credit score is simply credit history. How long have you shown real really good, outstanding history of being a good user of credit. So start as early as possible. Just like the ancient Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. All right, the sixth financial goal that you should be focused on hitting is to have some kind of investment plan that you're following. Again, I'm not going to say that you need to have this much invested by the time that you're 30, because we already talked about how we all have different paths. But you should be investing something. You should have some sort of game plan by the time that you're 30. The simplest way to get started is by simply just enrolling in the 401k at your work. And if your company offers some sort of match, make sure you're investing up to the minimum to get that full match. Now, the second easiest way to get started is by opening up a Roth IRA somewhere like Vanguard. Now, this is your own personal retirement account. It's very similar to a 401k, but it has nothing to do with work. It's completely separate. It's all on your own, and you kind of manage it and run it yourself. Honestly, if you want to learn more about creating an investment plan that can work for you and your unique situation, I highly recommend checking out two of my favorite investing books. It's The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins and The Boglehead's Guide to Investing. If you pick up both or one of those two books and read it, you'll be well on your way to knowing exactly what you should do next in order to set up some investments for your future. All right, number 7 is to have an insurance plan, especially if you have a family. Now, at this point in life, you need to make sure that you have health insurance and life insurance at a minimum. This is especially true if you have a spouse or kids. Whether you work or they work, or one of you stays at home, or you both work, I don't really care what the setup is, but it's very likely that both of you need some amount of life insurance, because if one of you dies, whether it's the working one or the stay-at-home one, that's going to cause a lot of deep trouble, especially if you've got kids in the mix, because all of your needs are still the same, and now you've only got one person who needs to take care of it all. Now, there is other type of insurance that you may need for your specific situation, like umbrella insurance or business insurance. Kind of just depends on what you have going on, but make sure that you at least start with health and life insurance. I'm actually going to be getting a lot of life insurance later this summer, and I'm going to do a few videos kind of documenting the process, showing the behind the scenes, explaining what you have to do to go through with it, and kind of how to choose how much you should be getting. I'm going to document all that and release the videos whenever the time comes. So if you're interested at all in that or seeing what's going on there, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you'll get notified when those videos come out in just a few short months. Number 8 is to build income security. Now, my father-in-law has worked at the exact same company for the past 40 years. He started from the very bottom when he was 18 years old and worked his way up over time, has had a great career there doing something that he enjoys and that has also provided for his family. While that's a great story, that same story likely will not be said about you, because the world is just drastically different than it was 40 years ago. Everything is moving so fast. Technology is destroying and creating new jobs on the daily, and that's why you need some type of income security in the case that your main source of income goes away. Luckily, there's a lot of ways to build that income security. Let me tell you about my 3 favorites. Now, obviously, having all 3 is ideal, but at a minimum, you need to have at least one of these. The first one is creating multiple streams of income. The easiest way to start doing this is through a side hustle or freelancing. Basically, taking what you do for a living, your skill set, and doing it on the side to start building up some income, building up something going so that if you lose that main job, you've already got kind of something working for you on the side. Now, you could also take a totally new skill set or learn something new and then build a side hustle that way. That's ultimately what I did, but either way will work. Now, multiple streams of income doesn't just have to be a side hustle or business. It could also be a variety of different types of investing. Investing in the stock market and doing dividend investing could also be, doing the real estate like we talked about earlier. Now, the second way to build some type of income security is by simply just building a skill set in a highly, highly in-demand field that you basically know is not going anywhere anytime soon. If you're currently working a very low demand job, or you personally know people in your field who are getting cut regularly, this is not you. You're going to need one of the other 2 things that we're talking about here. But if you're working a very high in demand job and people you know are not getting fired because they just need bodies doing that type of work, then great, this is you. You're building a skill set in something that is in extremely high demand. And that alone builds up some income security over time, especially if you're willing to move. Because even if your job cuts you or your specific company cuts you, you're able to take that skill set because it's in such high demand and go live somewhere else and work there. Now, the third source of building income security is through building authentic, real relationships with people in your industry. I don't like the term networking at all because it feels so transactional. It's very tit for tat. It's very, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. That's not at all what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about building real relationships with people, building a reputation as somebody who gets stuff done, building a reputation as somebody who you want on their team. Building good relationships throughout your career is an extremely wise financial strategy that I don't hear people talking about that often. When I left my corporate job to make videos and do freelancing work for a living, I felt really confident because I knew that I had built a great reputation in my old industry, and I built a lot of good relationships with both people that I worked with at my company and also all the clients of the companies that I worked for. I knew when I left that if things didn't work out down this path, I was only a couple of phone calls away from immediately having a new job, doing exactly what I used to be doing, making the exact same amount of money that I used to be making, and it would be almost like nothing really ever changed. I couldn't not go for it at that point because I knew that I had so much security in being able to pick up the phone and just go back if I needed to. Now, I know I just said that I hate the term networking, but there's this really catchy, cheesy phrase that has a lot of truth in it that says, your network is your net worth. Please don't skip over this step, this goal. Make a point to build a good reputation, to build good relationships with people in your field. Because trust me, if you ever find yourself down the road without an income, you're going to wish that you had one or two friends in your field that you can call. All right, speaking of relationships, number 9 is to build relationships with people who can journey alongside you. Now, I made a whole video talking about how your friends are likely keeping you poor. And in that video, I cited this study that was done by the New England Journal, where they looked at 12,000 people over the course of 32 years. And they found that if during that time period you had a friend who became obese, your odds of also becoming obese increased by 57%. It reminds me of this great Jim Rohn quote where he says, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And that holds true basically in any area of your life, whether it's fitness, financial, spiritual, parenting, doesn't matter. If you are around people who are taking those things seriously and are trying to get ahead and want to pay down debt and want to do big things in their finances and want a budget, then you naturally will start wanting to do those things too. Whereas if you're surrounding yourself with people who are totally cool with debt and constantly overspending on their credit cards and aren't really thinking about the future, then you're naturally going to slip into those paths as well. All right, the 10th financial goal that you should be focused on before you turn 30 is to master the art of patience, long-term thinking, and delayed gratification. If you can recognize just how long life truly is, how long you're going to live, how great the medical advancements are, and how what being 80 in 2019 looks like versus being 80 in 1819 looked like, it's 100% different. It's not even close. You're going to be able to live a long life, a full life. You have so much time to do all the things that you want to do. There's absolutely no rush in trying to do everything right this second. And if you can keep that perspective and keep that vision out there in front of you and have the patience to work through the muck and the grind and the struggle that is the daily financial stuff, then you are going to be well on your way to actually achieving it. Now, if you're a naturally impatient person and you struggle and you just want things to happen now, the number one way to get patience is to go back to the beginning of this video and focus on learning and building a genuine interest in personal finance. And second, nailing down that life vision, that what it is that you want. Because during the patience period, during this time where you have to really wait it out and it's hard and you want it to happen fast, the thing that gets you through that is that clarity around the vision piece, the clarity around how long it's going to take you to get to where you want to go. But that length, that waiting period is totally worth it. All right, y'all, that is the 10 financial goals that you should be focused on. If you liked this video, please hit that like button and do me a favor and share this video with a friend who's under 30. That would mean the world to me. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this one if you're serious about getting ahead with your money. And just remember, I can teach you how to manage your money better, but I can't make you do it. The choice is yours. I'll see y'all next time.